Alright, what up, nerds? This is the God DK, Ghoulie on my Death Knight here. I am playing Unholy still. We are waiting for some more changes. However, we did get a 4% damage buff, so we're fixed. And that's pretty much it for that. What I want to cover in this video is kind of some gameplay style and mechanics as far as like movement, key bindings, how to PvP as far as like confusing the target, how to really move yourself around somebody, so like maybe it's a caster and they can't get something off, or it's a melee and they're for some reason never really touching you because you're facing the wrong direction, but you're still getting all your moves off and also not jumping. As you can see, like if you were to go back to like some of my oldest videos, you'll see I do nothing but jump, and it's just like I'm constantly mashing the jump button. And I also want to cover the Razer Tartarus for those who actually use a gamepad. Also the same things like the Orb Weaver, and I think Logitech has a pretty viable gamepad as well. It's like a small little, try to get it here. It's like a little keyboard for those who are mechanically impaired. Long story short, I can't feel my pinky, like the skin of, like if I pinch it I can feel it. It's just like if I were to lightly touch something with my pinky, I really could barely tell. So it makes it harder to hit the control, shift, or any other key for hotkeys. So that's why if you were to look at my default UI, that would probably explain why there's not much there when it comes to hotkeys and shift buttons and alt and everything like that. So it makes it a little bit tougher in PvP, and I'm sure if I were to ever get that in like that serious an arena, I might adjust and try to find something else I can do. But I want to cover all that and kind of give guys an idea of how I'm playing that. So I'm going to go to the DK Haven. There's not a whole lot of places where it gives you like a good movement. I know in the middle of the ring there's a Dungeoneer's target dummy, but I want to cover that kind of stuff because it took me a very long time to figure it out, and getting to a point where I felt pretty comfortable, and getting to this point where movement is key. It's all about the key bindings and the things that you do throughout the game, and what moves you have available and where you place them on your UI, so that you can look at them, monitor them, and then use them effectively. So this normal tank dummy, actually this Dungeoneer's one, because I don't think this one fights back, is the one that we're going to try to focus on. So the first thing you want to do is your A and your D key is get rid of them. So if you are currently playing your newer style, you haven't really gone into like key bindings or something like that, typically A and D are your like turn left and turn right, but you really want to modify those to your strafe left and strafe right, and that's going to change everything as far as mobility and how you play the game as far as PvP goes. So most of the same. So W is move forward, and I'm going to kind of cover that. And I know that there's probably a lot of videos on these, but this is going to be the way that I do it. If you ever thought to move into amateur level DK play style, so W is going to stay the same. Your turn left and turn right, I relocated those to my arrow keys. I really never use those. And then A and D are strafe left and strafe right. So what that would look like if you're not too sure, I'm going to move that. So this is turn left, and this is turn right, or turn left, vice versa. You really don't want to be doing this in the middle of a fight. Like say this is the guy, and I'm trying to like it. The movement is just, it doesn't work that way. Especially if you're playing somebody that is a little bit better than you, they're going to be all over you. So you want to move that to strafe, and so it's a two-hand control as far as movement. So you want to be moving the camera with your middle finger on the right click button of your mouse, And that's what's going to be what keeps this all fluid, so you're always pointing at what you want it to be. So if I'm like trying to circle my ghoul or this this target dummy, hopefully, yeah, okay, so that does damage. So strafe left and strafe right, that's where the key is. This is the first thing that you want to do if you really want to elevate your skill cap. You want to be able to strafe left and right. And whenever you press the right click button on your mouse, it's going to be able to hold, and you hold it. You want to move that camera around wherever you're at. And it's going to be almost like a double clicking motion with how much you're going to be moving that camera around with how you're fighting them. Damn, this thing's fucking me up. So I want to be careful with that. So how about normal tank dummy? Maybe that won't kill me. It will. So I'll just use these guys. So say I'm strafing around this clown, this Ebon Ravager. It's just moving in a circle around him, and you'll be dragging your mouse across to the left if you're going in this direction, to the right around the target, and then vice versa to the other. And you want to kind of go back and forth around that. So say that you have a guy in a stun, you want to be behind him because it's harder, and he's not going to be able to dodge, parry, or oh, my ghoul's dead. Poor Earth Reaper. But let's go over here so we're not beating our ass. So you see it where like you're able to circle around the target just by dragging the mouse. And I'll try to move that. My mouse is a little bit over to the right. Am I right? So I'll drag it here so you can see it. So on the keyboard, everything in blue is WASD. Kind of did that because it's easier for me to see, but say that I'm looking at this guy and I move the mouse. Actually, I might be able to get it on one shot. If I do that and I circle around him, I'm going to go D, which is my strafe right. I'm just going to click this button, my right click on my mouse, and then move that camera around. And then A is going to be in the other direction. Same right click button on the mouse. And you want to be able to do that. So if you have your two fingers, your pointer and your ring finger on those two buttons, then your middle finger is WA, everything else is going to fall in line as far as your moves. And muscle memory is going to bring you to E, R, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, however you have your key maps assigned. But everything is going to base off of those buttons. So just off this, so say I was trying to like really fuck him up, I'd be kind of moving all around him, attacking at the same time, using the buttons on the side of the Naga to do so. If I was trying to like get an outbreak on him or place a defile, summon ghouls or turn my ghoul into a bigger ghoul, all that stuff I can do right here. And just press all those buttons basically, and the faster you can get to it. And you'll notice my pinky is clear from this. So I can't really use anything like here because the motor functions there are a little bit difficult. So going from here, I could do most stuff and be able to hit everything over here. And as long as if I keep my ring finger on A, I always know where I'm at on the keyboard because these are larger keys, so I'll go back and find A and then get back to it. And it's really difficult to hit misclicks. It's just with a keyboard, it's a little bit smaller buttons here. So that's why I really like the Gamepad. So if I were to come over here and just show the keyboards, I think I'll be able to do it. So just the keyboards, the same story with the blue. Whenever you get this, if you were to ever get one of these, I really recommend it because it's been a lot of fun. And especially as a Death Knight, there's not a whole lot of moves that we would press. So it's easier to do it and set up with a keypad like this because there's not many macros or things that we have to do that require any modifier keys. So everything in blue I've set up as WASD here. So if I were to just hold it in the same kind of play style as I had over here, WASD, where I kind of like tilt my hand like that, is now over here. So I've shifted it from the main keys over this way, and it took maybe 5 minutes max to do that. So it's easier to move it like that. And you have a lot of access to different functions with your thumb as opposed to your pinky. So getting around these, getting around the target is really simple because it's really just these two buttons. It's A and then D. Just trying to move my middle finger out of the way from the camera. So once you can really get used to using those two fingers, your pointer finger and your ring finger, as your leading keys as far as like driving your character, and then moving forward with it's either W, which would be your straight ahead key, or using the two mouse keys, holding both click buttons down. That's also going to move you forward. So say that this hand, your left hand with all your moves and abilities is tied up trying to do a whole bunch of random moves, then you can still move forward with your mouse at the same time. So there's no problem with movement there. So coming at it, so say I'm going to attack this guy over here, put the thing down, outbreak, and then I'm into my rotation at this point. And I'm using this, I'll upgrade my ghouls because I got 6 stacks, pop that, that point, soul filter, and then right into Army of Dead, and it's back into my rotation at this point, so 4 stacks, and I'm just kind of moving around the keys. So the global cooldown changes kind of help this as far as keeping it all the same. Like all my ghouls are on passive, but it kind of made it easier. So I can kind of walk around it as far as like how I use the gamepad. And the same concept applies over here. It's just how you rotate your wrist as far as like if I'm trying to move this way, which I'll move this one more time. Non-sponsored post. Just kidding, I'm not famous. So I'll kind of change how I have my wrist here for which way I'm trying to attack. So say that the guy that I'm trying to attack is moving. Maybe we'll use this guy for example. I'm going to want to lead him to his side like this. So I'm going to try to lead with the right of my wrist and try to follow him to that way. Otherwise I could circle back around him like that, and I'll be kind of going like this at this side. And it all depends on which moves I'm trying to use. So this guy's speeding over here. Oh, look at that. My rocket boots fucking blew up. So, try to get this fixed. So, let's see. Where did he end up? There he is. So this guy's kind of running pretty fast. That's what you kind of expect out of PvP. So I'm going to zoom out with my scroll wheel, and I'm kind of chasing him. This is the typical Death Knight speed right here. So I'm going to be attacking him. And right now I'm to his left because I want to cut him off because I know he's going to go this way. You want to kind of predict where everybody's going. So right now I'd be using Festering Strike to build up my strike stacks, and then blowing them up with E. And then as I get my death coil grips, I use a couple of those, and then I'll use some Razer Naga side moves, put the file down. Right now he's kind of getting away from me, so I'm going to use the movement advance, and it's really just muscle memory of where you place your moves on your board. So like at this point, and then say I was trying to blow cooldowns, it's just up to 2 and 3, then back down to where you're at. So finding this key, which is your left key, which would typically be A, that's your home button. So you want to figure out where that is and get back to that as soon as possible. So S is a big thing here. If you haven't done it already, like if you're watching these videos and you haven't removed the keybind from S, it'd be kind of a surprise to me. S is typically move backwards, but it's something you'll never do in any sort of fight, so you want to get rid of that, and you can use another move. Like right here I have Soul Reaper. So in this build for DK, Soul Reaper is really just there to give you an extra 2 runes. So you would do like Festering Strike, Apoc, Ghoul, then Soul Reaper, Festering Strike if you need to do it another time. And then from that point it's just Skirt Strike on. But that's how you get about doing it. So in this example for the keypad side of it, I really just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top rows here. and that's pretty simple because it's labeled as such. So these don't have any letter-based keys on them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're labeled like that, and then everything in blue I know as my WASD keys, and then 6 is Q, should be my death grip. Just that's where I put it. That's where I've had it since I started playing 9 or 10 years ago, and then from that point it's really just keyboard stuff of where I'm used to seeing. So on the keyboard itself, I have ERT, FG, and then I don't want to get rid of the character-based things, so C is still going to open the character window, and B is still going to open up the backpack. But that left Z, X, and V open, so I placed all those here at the bottom. So I have Z, X, V, and then I just picked a random key that wasn't assigned anything, which was my semicolon, or actual colon. So I'll never go over here and try to use Death's Advance for movement because I don't play typically over here. But when you come over here and you're like, okay, let's start this out. So I have my banner, that's obvious. So whenever I kill somebody that's a real pain in the ass, I'll use the banner. And that's just a quick click of the corner button here to make sure that I didn't miss their body as I rolled over it. And then I have my rocket boots, which have now blown up twice. And then V, which is a quick button click for glider. And for people who have the glider know how quickly you need to use that. So having that really close by to your movement keys is critical. And then coming across, I mean, we've kind of covered the banner, sprint, glider, and then Death's Advance. So like say I'm getting kited, they're using slows on me, or they stunned me, or something that's kind of really ruined my day there. I'll come over and then I'll use Death's Advance, and it's really quick back to the movement keys. So that's the bottom row here. So movement keys is the majority right here in the blue, and then just typical keyboard functions in the middle rows. And then just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top. It's pretty simple, and you can get used to it pretty quickly. And a lot of the people that play or try to get used to like Razer keyboards is that the buttons are really small, and you have to really be able to use. So you have bigger hands. It's hard to hit all of these buttons specifically, especially when shit's hitting the fan in the middle of a fight, and you're trying not to mash keys and then potentially blow a cooldown or something you really didn't want to use. So the keys on the keypad are a lot larger, so it's a lot more difficult to make that kind of a mistake. And on the side, it's just obviously personal preference at that point, but you have a few different buttons. So on the top here, I've used as my space bar. So every time I press this top button with my thumb, that'll jump. The bottom key is my voice to talk. So if I'm trying to use vent or the WoW chat or whatever, Skype, whatever I have a push to talk voice on, I'll just kind of press that with my thumb. And that's key in Arena, because you want to be able to still do everything with your main hand, but then kind of get that quick talk motion in, and it won't interrupt your movements either. And that's one of the key things. So like right now I'm holding the button down and I'm still pressing everything on the keypad, and it's still making those moves happen. So that's where I have that push to talk function at. And then the directional pad is really personal preference. If you were to use this, the only function here, the only keybind that I've now changed, instead of number 1 on this corner here, I've re-keybind to escape. That kind of gives it the whole keyboard feel, because here it is in the corner. So here it is in the corner as well. So when you come to the D-pad portion of it, I've just kind of assigned them to what used to be number 1, which is a mount, and then I have another mount. So downwards towards the desk is the mount button for the flying mount, and then up is a ground mount, which I want keybound to the Rolls Royce. So that's how I do that. So the closest button to me, aft, I have the target nearest enemy player. and it's different from the typical keybind of what you normally have tab assigned to. So if you go into your targeting here and it says target nearest enemy, this is what's most likely going to be set to tab key. But setting that and changing it to target nearest enemy player is going to save you a world of pain in the middle of a fight. So it's not going to work here because there's no enemy players here, but just clicking that button is going to tab through all of the players within any sort of fight when there's enemy players. But say that I find who I want, so say I'm looking for a healer, the next one that I've keybound to target nearest enemy player is Shift tab, which through the application for the device I've keybound to the forward button. So say I'm tabbing through targets and I'm moving towards and I see who I want to target and I pass them, I'll just click that button once and it'll go back to who I'm going towards. So it's really just as simple as just jumping into the middle of it where there's a ton of targets tabbing through who I want, and then if I pass them, one click and I'm back to them and I'm on them. And it's back to my movement keys, kind of strafing around them, going through them, whether it's through the mouse command or the actual W key, however you have to set it up. And it takes practice. It takes a lot of use to. So I have always played with a keyboard, but once I got this, and I've seen a bunch of reviews, so this is the Tartarus, and there is an Orb Weaver out there, both from Razer. And I wanted the Orb Weaver, but it's apparently harder to find in Italy as opposed to a Tartarus, so I ended up getting this. And there's really no complaints to it yet. The scroll wheel I haven't done anything with yet because I can't think of anything that I would want to use it for. So it's still scrolling in and out. I don't use this one yet. But yeah, and if you watch some of my latest PvP videos, as far as the Battlegrounds one, it almost looks seamless. So it looks like I'm not using this at all. It looks like I'm using a keyboard. And that's kind of the goal of what we're trying to accomplish with this whole thing, is making it seem like there is no disability at all. You can see my safe on the wall. There's nothing in it. Please don't rob me. So that's pretty much it. And it's really just moving around and getting used to that. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know, because I can walk you through a lot of the issues that face mobility impaired gamers. And it's not like I'm disfigured where I'm missing a fucking pinky. It's just it's harder for me to tell because I can't feel which key I'm on or if I'm touching a key at all. So being able to feel like I'm on the side of the gamepad and use my three fingers to actually play the game, that makes things a lot easier. And in moving around and kind of going through say jumping around the target, say this was me. Let's get, oh shit, I don't want to attack him. Oh, that went to somebody. Oh yeah, okay. So say that I'm jumping around, I want to move through them. I want to make sure that I'm behind the target at all times if I can. It's very difficult as a Death Knight, but getting to that and jumping and then just confusion and trying to get them to face away from you is the whole key. And the whole time you're just going through the rotation of getting everything you can on the target. So I don't think this guy's going to attack me, but I'll throw the shit down and kind of walk through it, get my ghoul off passive. So ghouls, normal shit, get rid of the death stuff, low cooldowns. And it's all just using the gamepad and kind of rotating around them and shifting. I don't know if you can see it because I moved the camera, but you can kind of see the movement in my arm as far as which angle I'm facing it. And just really getting used to that is the whole thing. Yeah, and that's how I play it. So hopefully that answers some of the questions. I know that I'm not the greatest setup video for PvP or movement of the character as far as how players PvP, and I would definitely give the other videos a look of those who are actually higher rated PvP players, because they've made it. But I do kill a lot of fucking people, and that's pretty good for a death knight. This is my main. This is what I've been playing for a long time. This is how I play. So if you're a death knight like I am, and you feel like you're struggling a little bit, or something's not really making sense, please let me know, and comment in the video, and I'll try to get those answers for you. And if you have something that can improve my play style, definitely let me know, because I'm always up for suggestions, and I need it. We're in a little bit of a lull, if you've been playing lately, but there's big changes coming. I feel like I've been saying that too long, but it's true. And I honestly believe that they're going to change Frost, and they're going to change Unholy, to make this game a hell of a lot more fun. So appreciate you guys watching the video. Like I said, if you have anything for me, let me know.